Welcome to tonight's Candidate Forum presented by the Fort Hays State University Student Government Association. I'm Administrative Assistant Carly Sneathen, and I'll be moderating tonight's debate. We are pleased to have all of you here. We are very excited to welcome Mr. Adam Schibi and Ms. Kayelani Kirschbaum, who are running as the 2018-2019 Student Body President and Vice President. To begin, the ticket will receive 4 minutes for their opening statement. Following this, we will begin the forum. After I ask each question, each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer the question. After approximately 30 minutes, we will complete this portion of the forum and move on to questions, which must be answered jointly by the ticket. After about 10 minutes, we will move to questions from the audience. Please utilize the papers that have been laid out in front of you on the chairs and to ask any questions that you have for the candidates. Our runners, Senator Aaron Simpson and Senator John Colclasure, members of the Student Government Association Elections Committee, will be picking up questions throughout the forum. Please write your question down and raise your hand for them to collect. Any questions that are deemed inappropriate by the screener will not be read. As time is limited, we will likely not have the chance to ask the candidates all of the audience's questions. So please feel free to reach out to the candidates after the forum with your questions. The candidates will have the same amount of time to answer each question as before. After approximately 30 minutes, we will move on to the closing statement. The ticket will receive 4 minutes for their closing statement. Again, thank you for your support, and we are pleased to have you here. Candidates, you may begin your opening statement.
Can you hear me now? All right. So good evening, everyone. As was previously stated, my name is Adam Schibi. I'm a current senior, originally from Hays, America. I'm majoring in accounting and minoring in finance. Within the Student Government Association, I've been a senator representing the Robbins College of Business and Entrepreneurship over the past 2 years. Over the past 2 years, I have had the privilege of serving as the chair of both the Appropriations and Allocations Committees, and currently chairing the Legislative and Political Action Committee. But this evening is not all about me.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kayelani Kirschbaum. I'm a sophomore majoring in biology and chemistry pre-med with a minor in leadership. I currently work for the Student Government Association, serving as the Legislative Affairs Director, where I've had the opportunity to represent students on the state and local level. And I get to encourage civic engagement on campus. Last year, I did serve as a senator for the freshman CAM students, and I sat on the Student Relations and Involvement Committee.
First, we have a few thank yous that we'd like to address. To those of you that are here that want to learn about us and our platform and what you can expect from us next year, thank you.
To the Elections Committee, thank you for putting on this event so we can present our ideas and answer questions from our peers.
To those of you joining us via Tiger Media Network, thank you for taking some time out of your day to listen to what we have to offer.
And to our friends and support system that has been with us over the past few years, thank you for giving us the confidence and the backing in order to bring us into this position.
Now into the real meat of what we have to discuss. Over the past 4 years, I've had the opportunity to watch Fort Hays change from building new facilities to implementing new programs and even introducing new administration to lead this school into the future. Over the past year, it can easily be seen that Fort Hays has grown immensely and will continue that way into the future. By continuing the university's efforts in creating an affordable education for each of our students, our goal is to ensure that proper measures are taken in order to make sure each dollar is spent well. In advocating for more efficient uses, we as student leaders believe a sense of trust and transparency will be forged between student and administrator.
As Fort Hays continues to grow in our region, attracting students, faculty, and staff from various backgrounds and destinations, the opportunity to expand and bring about new partnerships is becoming more and more evident. In working to expand this network, we believe that students will be given a greater ability to seek internships and other experiences within their given field of study before graduating from our wonderful institution. Aside from this, by working with our alumni association to bring about a greater connection between current students and those alumni out in their given fields, it will become evident that what is being done here on campus will draw benefits down the road.
With the number of changes the university has seen over the past few years, It is vital that our students have a better understanding of what is happening behind the scenes. Though it is understood that certain information cannot be shared with all, by simply answering questions relevant to being a tiger, we believe that our campus community as a whole will be able to work in unison and achieve more. So in concluding our opening remarks, we hope that we have given you a glimpse of the energy that we hold behind the ideas that we have presented. We hope that we instill a feeling of trust within each of you as we go into next year. And we hope that you are all ready to get this show under the road. So, thank you.
Now that we have completed the opening statement, I will be asking each candidate 4 prepared questions specific to the position they are campaigning for. Each candidate will receive 3 minutes to answer each question. Mr. Schibi will be the first to answer as the presidential candidate. What would be your first task to complete if elected?
Great question. So obviously from the first day in office, I would like to establish a point of communication with everyone on campus, from administration to student organizations and everybody that has a take in what the university has to offer. From that, we would like to start addressing the affordability aspect. From an overall standpoint, the university is doing a great job. If you look at what the foundation has been able to do in raising funds for each of our students, we keep consistent with being the second lowest in-state tuition in the nation. In comparison to surrounding states, we're still offering a lower in-state tuition for even those students that come here. Hitting on one bit of affordability that we would like to start discussing with administration is looking at per class cost shedding. So one of the things that we've been talking about is looking at open educational resources a little bit more. We know that within some of our general education courses that it's seen that this is being utilized at a better level. Obviously we can understand that within certain courses you can't get away from the traditional textbook and everything like that, but I think being able to start the discussion to say, this is an option that we have. Going forward, is this something that we can use a little bit more to our ability and everything within the classroom? But, in short, answering the question, that would be our first point of information that we would like to get at.
Thank you. Ms. Kirschbaum, how will you and your Senate engage with students from different perspectives to ensure that SGA represents our diverse campus?
Sure. One way that SGA does a great job at presenting new perspectives and representing our diverse campus is we have representatives from every college. So that's something that we're already doing, and it's a way that we get all sorts of perspectives on campus. One way that I would like to increase this is by getting meet and greets with our senators and our students, because a lot of times on campus, people aren't aware of who their senators are. And so if we have a greater communication between the students and the senators, they might feel more comfortable coming up to a student senator and talking about what they want to do. Another way to get better perspectives on campus, SGA is already currently working with administration to work on a reporting system to go into place that would provide criticisms, maybe things that are happening on campus, but it would also provide suggestions on how we can improve on campus. And I think SGA being a part of that will be able to represent the perspectives that are in that reporting system and take care of issues or take care of suggestions that are being done there.
Thank you. Mr. Schibi, Fort Hays State University has approximately 7,000 virtual students. What are your plans to help integrate these students, and how will you best represent their voice on the Virtual Student Senate?
So I think it's worth noting that, as you stated, statistically they make up more than half of our population. So being able to really communicate with those individuals to see what needs that they need going forward to keep the tradition of us having a very strong virtual college behind us. One of the biggest things that I love to do is email individuals. I think that, with a virtual college student, it's the best way of communication with them. So I think being able to be open about communication through those means and being able to meet the needs that they need with communication. I think one of the other things that we can kind of bounce off of is looking at some of the instructors and faculty members that work with our virtual students that have really been able to optimize those lines of communication, really being able to get feedback on what is the best way to go about presenting their concerns and their different difficulties that they may be facing with their own coursework. With this virtual student senate, like you had noted, it's a different type of atmosphere as comparison to our on-campus student senate. It offers up a different perspective for us and something that we can really work with going forward. I think it's also worth noting that the issues that they face are much different than ours, and being able for them to meet with each other is a lot more difficult than we might actually imagine, as we can meet every single week to address our different issues that come up whenever they might be. Just being able to keep that communication flow, see exactly how we can optimize relationships between faculty members already, not really recreating the wheel, but just trying to see how that can be implemented with our own virtual Senate will be the way to go.
Thank you. Ms. Kirschbaum, what are your plans to continue to make our campus civically engaged?
Great. Civic engagement is something on campus that a lot of people just think of voting or things like that. And civic engagement is actually a lot of different things. It's participating in community service, and it is voting, and it's doing something to make the community around you better. That is what civic engagement is. Now, a lot of people do think of voting whenever they think of civic engagement, and that is something that I would also like to focus on, only because our generation is one of the lowest percentages of voters in America right now, and that's terrifying. So something that I think SGA could do is, we already try to make a huge deal about our elections, but take steps not just at election time, but maybe throughout the year, that encourages why elections are important and how to get them to better understand how elections work through SGA and what it means by electing students on campus. Another thing that I'd like to point out is community partners. So part of civic engagement is improving the community. And one of our goals is to provide more community partners, so that way students can have greater opportunities in their career fields before they even graduate. So one way that we could do that is through the big event, having community partners that aren't just what you would consider community service as far as outdoorsy work, but community service in an office and how to make that better, or community service, I being in the medical field, in a medical office, just organizing charts or something like that. That could just give us a partnership that could maybe later turn into an internship or some sort of experience that a student could use later on.
Thank you. Mr. Schibi, what do you consider to be the most pressing issue in higher education today that requires your immediate attention?
So I think one of the biggest things that we see year after year is that at the higher education level, funding is always number one thing that's always brought up. When we went back to the Capitol for our higher education day, we were looking at, there might be a void that might need to be filled of upwards of $29.3 million at a statewide level, which equated to about $1.06 million at our level. So at that point, we were really starting to look at, how amongst each of the regent schools are we going to be able to combat this and work with our, legislators and the state to really be able to make a difference on that. So, as I kind of stated earlier, looking at our situation here on campus, our foundation has done a great job of being able to, subsidize and work to give our students scholarships and stuff like that. But I think it's worth noting that it's not all on them when it comes to stuff like that. We have to be able to work with them, give our testimonies to how that has impacted our lives, and really be able to, get back out to our alumni and tell them what the needs are of our campus. And then, as we begin to really do that here on campus, we really can start to look at the state level and how we can really combat that. Myself within that role, or future legislative affairs director, that would be the number one thing that we'd be needing to focus on and really trying to combat every time that we go up to Topeka.
Thank you. Ms. Kirschbaum, one of the biggest tasks of the Vice President is to oversee the Allocations Committee, which allocates over $500,000 in student fees to student organizations. How will you ensure that this process is done fairly and smoothly, and what improvements will you make to the new online system?
Great. As far as allocations goes, it is a huge task that SGA is faced with. We do allocate lots and lots of money, and I think one way that we can make the guidelines easier is work in our bylaws. We don't want to make it too constricting, because that's not the point of bylaws, but look at them and see how we can clearly define what we already make as restrictions. So one of our things is personal gain, and we do try to define that, but maybe even giving more of a outline to the student orgs of what that personal gain would be before they turn in their report, so that way, as a committee, we don't have to tell them, sorry, no, you can't get all this money because it doesn't meet a certain guideline, but they're just not even asking for that. So making that easier on the student orgs because they're not thinking that they're getting money that they're not, and also making it easier on the committee. And then our online system, that has been a huge issue with allocations this year. And I have been brainstorming, Adam and I have, on how we can maybe make that better. And I don't know if maybe a Dropbox system is something that I had brainstormed, because I think with how expensive our online system is and how ineffective it's being for us, it might be something that we need to shy away from. But I think doing it digitally and online is still something that we need to shoot for, and not going back to paper copies, because nobody wants to do that. So maybe a Dropbox system of some sort, or looking at other more cost-effective online systems, but maybe switching those out.
Thank you. Mr. Schibi, how do you plan to use your position as SGA president to represent and push student body interests to the Kansas Board of Regents and the state legislature?
It's a great question. I think, over the past 4 years, I've been given the opportunity to really engage with students of various backgrounds and really begin to see, when everybody does choose Fort Hays, what their purpose is behind that. And, being able to see different scenarios for each of them, really being able to replicate that going forward, from the state level, really getting out there and saying, this is why our students are enjoying their time here at Fort Hays. This is why they are choosing us, and this is why we are looking to continue to expand our student population. I think, obviously, I do not know everything about the university. I want to be the first one to admit that, being able to call upon those other individuals that I have seen as leaders with their own diverse groups, to be able to aid me in giving information that I can be able to pass on Kansas Board of Regents, state legislator, anything like that. Talking to the legislator, I think it's something that by working with our higher education days, it's given us a great opportunity to be able to forge those relationships. Obviously, Representative Eber Phelps, he's a longtime Hays native representative. I've been from Hays my entire life as well, so known him since I was a young pup. Grandpa goes to football games with him and everything like that. So, being able to, bounce ideas off of individuals like that, really get to the focal point that we need to for our own students, and just pushing for the ideals of our entire student population.
Thank you. Ms. Kirschbaum, the role of an SGA senator is to represent their constituents in the best way possible. How will you ensure that your student senators are fulfilling their roles, and that the voices of students are being heard?
Great. So as student senators, it's sometimes daunting to get up and talk in your classes, and I understand that. Being a STEM major, a lot of STEM kids do not want to hear me talk about student government and what's going on. And so one thing that I think that could combat that is, yes, still having students get up and talk in their classes, but having an email list and having each senator responsible for a certain number of students. It's typically around 150, depending on how our senates are filled. And then rotating who they're emailing. So they're not just always getting an email from the same senator every time we have something really large, like allocations, that we want them to know about, but that whenever they're getting the emails, they're like, oh, I got an email from a new person. What is this about? And then another thing that I would really like to do is maybe once a month have a forum where we have just like a panel of senators, maybe one from every college, or maybe it's the committee chairs, where students can come and talk, or where students can come and listen and ask questions about what's going on. So the student senators would maybe share about what's happening in SGA and the issues that we're facing, or things that we want to combat. And then it would also give students the time to ask questions or bring up issues that they're having, and maybe see how that would work and get the senators being more effective in their job.
Thank you, candidates. We will now ask you 3 questions, which you must answer together. And again, you'll have 3 minutes to answer. How will you continue the work of the current SGA to create an effective dead week policy or 15-week policy?
So I will actually have Kayelani kind of begin on that, as she's been on the executive staff working to get that going. So, Kayelani.
Sure. So great. So SGA has already started working with faculty and with administration, and we are also started working with the Docking Institute to work on a survey that could go out to students potentially next October. Our goal would be to definitely continue on with that survey, We have had questions submitted through senators and through the exec staff, and we're currently working on short scenarios that students could rank on how that would happen, and how the policy would look. And being something that is very passionate about a 15-week policy, I think it could be another word that has been thrown around for that week is a success week, which is a really good word, I think, for that, because it is really to help students feel more successful in not only their current project that they're working on, but also on their finals project. So as a ticket and together, we're hoping that we can continue on with the work that SGA has done, but do a very effective job of getting that survey out to students and getting them to fill it out and actually getting their input on what they would like to see, or informing them of what a 15-week policy is, because a lot of Fort Hays students are not sure what that is, and then making it effective for the faculty to be on board and for the administration to be on board as well.
And I think to continue off of that, to go back to my previous comment of not recreating the wheel, one of the biggest parts that I can assist in is really communicating with other region schools that have been able to implement their own dead week, or however they state it, policy. How it's been effective, what the outcomes have been, what some of the feedback is from the students. Going forward also, I think being able to reach out to alumni that have recently graduated, seeing how they may have felt if they were in the position to have that at their disposal as being something to really work with and continue to bring success within their studies in that given week.
Thank you. How will your administration continue to foster relationships between students, faculty, staff, and administration?
So I think one of the biggest things that Kayelani and I continue to talk about is just communication. Being able to meet with individuals across campus at any given time. We're going to have busy schedules in itself, but if there's something that comes up, being able to contact the individual that we know would be the direct point of contact for something, or just simply sending off an email, might end up just being the way to go. Between organizations, everything like that, being able to kind of to what Kayelani was saying, utilize our student senate a little bit further within their majors and different areas such as that, to get the feedback from the students that we might need going forward when we're implementing anything else. So, on that note, I'll kind of let Kayelani say what she might have been thinking.
Sure. So one thing that popped into my mind on what student government could use their senators to go to other student org events in support of SGA. So in order to foster relationships, having that support for the other student orgs that are on campus, and showing that we are here for them and we want to help them in whatever capacity that could be for them. So sending almost a representative in like an SGA, like even name tag or something like that, to show that they're there for SGA and that they're just there to support the program that they have going on. And if they had any questions, that they'd be willing to ask it at that time.
Thank you. Even though you are the only official ticket running, why should students vote for you, and what are some of the major initiatives on your platform?
So the biggest thing I think that Kayelani and I can really bring to the table is that we do have a diverse background within the experiences that we have to offer. Going from I'm a business major, she's a pre-med major. We represent a very wide spectrum of our students, and we know that we can represent each of them to the highest level that we can. Within our platform, we touch on our 3 points of affordability, community, and transparency. I think the biggest thing to it is, continuing what the university has been able to do, working within our different diverse communities that we do have. We have the Hays community, our campus community, our virtual community, even our international community, that offer up different benefits to each of our students. And then obviously from the transparency aspect, being able to be a voice that can pass on any information that might need to be given to our students, and being able to be the best representative to each of our students.
I think the only thing that I would add on to that is transparency can be one on our ticket that might be kind of confusing to others, because everybody says transparency whenever they're talking about elections. And I think our goal as a ticket is to be transparent between the administration and the students, to try and be a better funnel of information to the students. Right now, there's even things that administration has great ideas on, but students maybe don't know that they're happening. And so they have great initiative and great things going, but they don't know if it's going to be successful because students don't know about it. And so trying to even reach out, even whenever we don't know that there's an initiative going on, but reaching out as a ticket and being like, hey, is there anything new going on in your guys' department this week that we need to be telling students about? And I think that's one of our strongest goals whenever it comes to transparency and clarifying that I thought was important.
Excellent. Thank you, candidates. That concludes our scripted questions. We will now move on to questions from the audience. Again, each candidate will receive 3 minutes to answer each question. Questions may be for individual candidates or for the ticket. How will you adapt your style in order to work effectively with those who are different from you, not only those serving on Senate, but as well as your constituents?
Right. No, so I think, given my experience within the Student Government Association and varying degrees of committees and everything like that, I've been able to see, how our different senators are able to work. And, I might have a different approach, but I understand that, going about a different path might be the best way to do it. Working with our constituents, being able to, understand that each year we're looking at a different population, that, we bring in new freshmen, we graduate different seniors. We have to be able to work with that and understand that there are going to be different scenarios in which we do have to adapt our way and just be able to be flexible going forward and trying to address it in the best way that we can.
Great. Being a leadership minor, we talk a lot about adapting to the people that we're working with. And one way that I think that I have learned to do that is I am obviously a STEM major, but I work a lot with leadership students, and I like to take steps outside of what my STEM major is. So STEM majors are typically, I hate to generalize them, but we're typically introverts and we like hard facts and things like that. So being somebody that can relate to STEM majors and that can be that very serious individual, but that can also come and talk at things like this and can work with our constituents and things like that, I think that shows that I have a lot of adaptability. But other ways that I can do it is being in college, I have learned so many things that I didn't even know were a thing as far as diversity goes and how to interact with students that are different than me. And I think taking those lessons that I've learned already here at college and just advancing my knowledge on them and going to trainings that we have as far as like cultural diversity trainings that we have on campus and things like that, I think that'll further my knowledge and make it easier for me to adapt to who is on our Senate and also who our constituents are.
With the increase of enrollment, do you expect student fees or tuition to increase during your administration?
Looking forward, Kayelani and I just wrapped up within our committee the annual review of the fees this year. We're looking at, potential 35-cent increase if everything passes this week within Senate. If it becomes the thought that offering up further services to our students as we do grow is something that we have to address, that is just the way that it has to be. I think going back to the flexibility aspect, we have to be able to, work with administration, getting as much information out to the students and getting a feedback as to, is this going to be something that'll be detrimental to your time here, or is it going to actually be beneficial in the long run?
And I think being here and seeing the growth that has happened over the last 3 years and looking through reports on how finances have changed and stuff, I don't think our growing numbers is necessarily hurting us as far as tuition and fees go. I think it's almost making it better as far as allowing us to grow through buildings on our institution and through programs that we're offering. And I think it'll be more through legislative issues as to why fees or tuition might go up, and that might be something that our hands are tied with. But as a ticket, we hope to advocate for students in making this an affordable option for all students to attend Fort Hays.
How will you promote diversity on campus?
So I think first it's worth looking at that diversity comes in a number of different flavors. I mean, you can look at it from different organizations to different backgrounds, and the way that students come into college is all different. I mean, for instance, I'm from Kansas, Kayelani's from Colorado. I mean, we have a completely diverse campus when you really begin to look at it, but in order to promote it, I think it's important to really start to get students engaged a little bit more on campus, really looking at the different options that they have within student organizations that might be a little bit more pertinent to within their majors, but also within leadership roles that they might be able to take on campus. Because within those, I've been able to see it within myself. I'm sure, Kayelani, I'll let you speak on yours, but I've seen, my ability to really grow as an individual as I begin to see the backgrounds, the viewpoints that other individuals begin to bring and offer that up to the entire university.
Would you mind repeating the question, Carly? Or
Yeah.
Administrative Assistant Sneeden?
Yes. How will you promote diversity on campus?
Great. So like Adam said, I think it's important to note that diversity is multiple different things. And one thing that I think Adam and I could do really great is whenever you look at us, you don't see necessarily diverse individuals, but one thing we can do is to keep an open mind and encourage other people to keep an open mind. And like the idea that I had earlier of going to other student orgs and things like that, having them go to the diverse student organizations that we have on campus, because we range from a wide range of different activities that we can do on campus. And so promoting that by promoting people to go to all of our diverse things on campus and showing support for our diverse options that we have on campus will in return encourage SGA to be open to more diverse things that we have going on.
We will now move into the closing statement. The ticket will have 3 minutes for their statement. You may begin.
So Fort Hays is the tagline of being forward-thinking and world-ready. By showing action within all of our decisions, whether that be proactive, reactive, or just overall active, we hope to make the tagline of forward-thinking, world-ready a reality for everything that we do. In doing so, we believe that we, as an entire university, can and will achieve more.
Thank you for coming out tonight and learning about Adam and I's goals for achieving more next year. Make sure that you like us on our Facebook page for more information going forward as we release more information about other colleges on campus and about ourselves. So make sure to contact with your senators that are up for election this year.
So, and to go off of that, make sure to get out and vote April 11th through the 12th. If you'd like, we have a couple stickers and palm cards over there by Faisal. We'll be around here if you guys have any other questions, so feel free to catch us on your way out. Going forward, if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us. If you don't, we're not going to take it to heart. But, in conclusion, as always, go Tigers.
This concludes our forum this evening. Please remember that elections are next week, opening at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, April 11th, and closing at 4:30 p.m. on Thursday, April 12th on TigerLink. Vote for the president and vice president and your representatives. We would like to take this time to also thank Tiger Media Network for coming out again and supporting us with our elections this year. Thank you all for being here in attendance.